Hey guys, welcome back. Now, before we do anything, can I just give a quick shout out to this community? You guys freaking rock. Because I genuinely feel like I'm not reading this book alone anymore. I read the chapter and sometimes I go a little unhinged on the camera. But then I go into the comments and I see you guys giving me all the details. You guys are bringing in all the historical context, all the little Regency things that I might have missed. You're pulling receipts from previous chapters and sometimes you tell me, hey, Kiki, you got an entire sentence wrong, which I love it. I absolutely love it. Because this is turning into something that I hope would happen. That it's not just me reading the books. We are doing it together. And honestly, this channel would not be anything for what it is without you guys. And the best part is that so many of you guys know what happens already. And somehow you've allowed me to just run down this road completely clueless, trying to make connections end and new connections start. Without spoiling anything for me. And now we have made it to chapter 50. Guys, we have survived Collins. We have survived Lady Catherine. We have survived the letter. We've survived even Pemberley. And now we have officially found Lydia. Yes! Except, apparently, finding Lydia has now opened up a new can of worms because, who exactly paid Wickham, His debts are getting cleared and money is going to be left on the table for Lydia? Now, for me, the only person who could have done it is Uncle Gardiner. He was the one that was negotiating it all. So I, like Jane Bennet, need concrete proof. Are we going to get that in this chapter? I don't know. But let's travel back 200 plus years in time to find out if we get any proof. Here we go. All right, guys, we have made it chapter 50, or shall I say, chapter L? L? Which L, right? L for lovely. L for it would be lovely if Jane Austen would tell us who paid these debts off. Are we going to figure it out? Let's see. So chapter 50, here we go. So Mr. Bennet had very often wished, before this period of his life, that instead of spending his whole income, this is the point in life where you just say, sir, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Yeah, because doesn't that sting so much more, guys? Yeah. What? You spent your whole entire income on what? Books? It has to be books. It has to be books. What else does he spend his money on, right? I would think it would have to be books, guys. But apparently, he had often very wished before this period in his life that instead of spending his whole entire income, he had laid by an annual sum for the better provision of his children and of his wife if she survived him. My dude, it is way too early to start cursing here. Way too early. But let me tell you something, okay? Yeah, you didn't fail yourself. You also failed your wife and your 5 children, and that's gotta dig. Now, a couple of things is that you very often wished, you've been thinking about this a lot, and you still never changed. Because even that one specific time that you wished, that one specific time, it should have been done. It should have been done. No discussions, no ifs, ands, or buts. No, I'm not gonna, no, you can't give me any excuses, and I'm sorry. But, yeah, you're in the doghouse, and that stinks for Mrs. Bennet, and obviously the 5 daughters. And I can kind of understand Mrs. Bennet's perspective a little bit better because, yeah, your husband blew all of his money away. Nothing for her, nothing for her 5 daughters. And you never changed. And I kind of remember back then that, he was showing some signs of maybe being not as sarcastic and not as witty as he is and not trying to take situations as light as he does. And maybe he was going to change, but seems like this has been a problem for a way while. So, well, Unfortunately, he put himself and everybody else in this position. So he very often wished that, oopsie, I should have saved some money. Okay, well, now it's too late. And it unfortunately, it took an actual wedding to figure all this stuff out. So, yeah. But let's keep it going. Now, he now wished it more than ever. It took the absolute potential family ruin to get to this point that he wished it now more than ever. Dude, you should have been saving. And for anybody out there, save, okay? Save, please. But sometimes you realize things when it's too late, and he did know about it because he had wished often. But it took this debacle for you to wish it more than ever. My dude, you should have been doing it a long time ago. But let's keep it going. Now, had he done his duty in that respect, and it was his duty, because honestly, in the Regency era, women weren't really making any money. Women weren't working, right? So they can't make money on the side or can't make any income for themselves other than maybe a dowry from what the family's given them, for a marriage. So yeah, it was your duty. It was your duty, and you didn't do it. You didn't do your duty. Okay. Now, had he done his duty in that respect, Lydia need not have been indebted to her uncle for whatever of honor or credit could now be purchased for her. Yeah, because if he would have saved, now he wouldn't have to feel indebted to his brother for the rest of his life. But Uncle Gardiner came through, made the negotiations, and paid off Wickham's debts, and put money aside for Lydia. I mean, come on. Now, once again, he is in trade, right? He is in trade. I wonder how much money he truly has. There are people in this story that have way more money. Darcy, but, Mr. Gardiner is very successful in his line of work. Seems like he's very high up in what he does as far as his position. So, I mean, he might have a lot of money, and he might be able to lay it down. From what we're gathering here, he has more money than the Bennets, right? So I don't know. But we still don't know the exact amount. But let's continue on. But yeah, I mean, Lydia need not have been indebted to her uncle. So not only the Bennet family indebted to the uncle, but Lydia specifically as well. So yeah. Now, the satisfaction of prevailing on one of the most worthless young men in Great Britain to be her husband might then have rested in its proper place. And Jane Austen said it first, guys, that George Wickham is by far one of the most worthless young men in all of Great Britain. I mean, can we just give it up to her? Yeah, she even knows it, guys. She even knows it. That to purchase basically Lydia's reputation back. And that's what I'm seeing here, is that her honor or credit. So I'm assuming they didn't have credit scores back then, but I would think like a reputation from what we've been talking about in the comments. But her honor or her reputation was basically purchased for her back, and she could now re-enter into society. And it shouldn't have been Uncle Gardiner. No way. It should have been Mr. Bennet who rightfully paid for Lydia's reputation to come back. And now you got it, now you have it on someone else's hands, and you feel indebted to them for a very, very, very long time. And we know that from last chapter, Mr. Bennet was like, at least 10,000 pounds to get this marriage done. And that's a lot of money. You're not going to pay that back, especially in the Bennett situation. So they're going to be indebted for a very, very long time. Well, let's keep it going. Mr. Bennet is not looking too good at the start of this chapter. I am very disappointed in you. Now, he was seriously concerned that a cause of so little advantage to anyone should be forwarded at the sole expense of his brother-in-law. Yeah, once again, Mr. Gardiner shouldn't be the one that pays this debt. It should come from Mr. Bennet. And it's never going to come from Mr. Bennet because obviously he has no money. But he's, meaning Mr. Bennet, is seriously concerned that a cause of so little advantage to anyone. This ain't a good thing, guys. If we take it back and we look at it objectively, this marriage between Lydia and Wickham is not a good thing. No way, no how. You can't tell me not. So now it's being forced upon them via money, money, money. And nothing good is basically going to come out of it. Wickham is, once again, the most worthless man in all of Great Britain, guys. So, you're not going to get any advantage out of that. And, poor Lydia, she's 16 years old. She just turned 16. So, she's still not mature enough to understand the consequences of her actions as to how she got into this position. So it's a tough situation. But once again, it should not be at the sole expense, the only expense to Uncle Gardiner. But this is life and this is how it's rolling, so let us roll. And he was determined, so Mr. Bennet was determined, if possible, to find out the extent of his assistance. Yeah, I want to know that too. Tell me. Give me those receipts. Come on, let's travel on down there. You got to see your daughter anyway. You have to see your daughter, and might as well stop at Grace Church Street, say hi, see how Lydia's doing, because apparently she's there, and then just say, hey, how much we talking, how much we talking, huh? So, I'm fine with that, but let's see. He wants to find out the extent of his assistance, and to discharge the obligation as soon as he could. Now, to discharge the obligation requires a lot of money, man. So if it is £10,000, how are we going to be discharging the obligation? How are we going to be paying back the debt? Okay, because apparently you spend it all many, 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 many years ago, okay? And you didn't do life right. I don't know. But let's continue. Now, when first Mr. Bennet had married, we are getting a biography on Mr. Bennet. Okay, is this Mr. Bennet's chapter? Let's see. Now, when first Mr. Bennet had married to Mrs. Bennet, and mind you, backstory on that, they kind of didn't really hit it off personality-wise in the beginning. She's probably the most beautiful woman out of all 5 of the daughters. She is the looks, guys. And that's what got him. But then when she started opening her mouth with mean understanding, as per what Jane Austen says, Mr. Bennet was kind of like, oh, shoot. Oh, shoot, what I got myself into. And now we're here. But when first Mr. Bennet had married, economy was held to be perfectly useless. Guys, I ain't no fiduciary, okay? But I'm going to tell you that there is no useless time to start saving, okay? Just take it from Kiki. Please. Don't be going out there spending all your money. Please, please, please. Save, save, save. Yeah? Future you will be so indebted to younger you, for sure. All right? Okay. But apparently Mr. Bennet still didn't think that, right? Economy was held to be perfectly useless when he had married, because what I'm assuming is he already had Longbourn, right? Because probably he wasn't entailed with somebody else. And he had no kids. He had no kids, so it's like, we chilling. Let's go here, let's go there. I mean, they ain't going anywhere. But whatever he was spending it on, books. I mean, that's the only thing that we know he's got. Books, books, books. But he wasn't saving. He wasn't saving from the get. For, of course, they were to have a son. There it is. Whoop, there it is. Yeah, because if they had a son, the entail would go to him. And then it would be the heir, the male heir's responsibility to take care of the mother and the daughters, from what I'm learning from you guys. So that was it, the male heir. And first off, the first son has a lot of responsibility. I mean, that's crazy. He didn't ask for any of that. But that's the Regency era. But that's how it was. So they were to have a son, to basically be the male heir, take over Longbourn, take over the finances, and go from there. Now, this son was to join in cutting off the entail. Yes, check. Everything's checking out. As soon as he should be of age. And the widow and younger children would by that means be provided for. Okay, yes, I'm all checking. I said that a little bit a while ago, so that all checks out. And it's interesting because it's the widow, that would be Mrs. Bennet if unfortunately Mr. Bennet passes away, and the younger children. So I'm interested to know if there were, daughters that were older than the male heir, would they have to be taken care of, or because they're older, they have to do their own thing? So just a Regency question that I have for you guys. Thank you so much. And I know from the comments that Jane Austen actually had the same thing, that her brother at the end, for the last, I think, maybe 10 years of her life or something like that, that her brother watched out for her and Cassandra and her mother. And, it was, I think, part of his estate that he was able to give them. But yeah. So anyway, 5 daughters successively entered the world. Yes. But yet the son was to come. And also, from the comments, I've been learning about, everything Regency-wise. And, there was no modern medicine, no medical technology. So Mrs. Bennet is like a fighter, guys. She had 5 daughters. 5 daughters, and she's still here. And there was no, very rare C-sections, probably, if any. And a lot of women, unfortunately, passed away via childbirth. So Mrs. Bennet coming in as a fighter and who she is nowadays with 5 daughters, that's crazy. She will not back down. But yeah, 5 daughters successfully entered the world, and yet the son was to come. And Mrs. Bennet, for many years after Lydia's birth, had been certain that he would. So even after Lydia, they were still trying. Okay. This event had at last been despaired of, but it was then too late to be saving. So, yes, we don't know if they couldn't have children anymore. Probably, I don't think that they would have stopped trying, but maybe, biology-wise, that, unfortunately, the time was up for Mrs. Bennet, or maybe, unfortunately, some miscarriages, some stillbirths, because I know probably in the Regency era that was a big thing. So it just never happened. But then it's too late for saving. You went through 5 daughters, and, that's a lot of time, years that they didn't save. And Mrs. Bennet had no turn for economy. Yeah, she only came in with the dowry. What is she going to do? And her husband's love of independence had alone prevented their exceeding their income. So, wait a minute. His love of independence had alone prevented their exceeding their income. So let's spend all the money, but let's not overspend. What are we doing, my dude? Just put some on the side. Just put some on the side. He's blowing his whole entire paycheck on what? Well, there are expenses, right? But after that, what are we doing? Are we buying the fish? Because it's probably costing a pretty penny. But, I love how he has a love for independence, meaning that he didn't want to be indebted to anybody. Well, now look at where you are. But his love for independence had alone prevented their exceeding their income. So he had basically one rule. Whatever our income was, we can't overspend. But at the same token, it's like, why not just cut it off a little bit before and save the rest? I don't know. Sounds like a good idea to me. Let's continue on. Now, £5,000 were settled by marriage articles on Mrs. Bennet and the children. Yes, so this, I think, came back from Lydia, right? The 5,000, her own settlement, so 5,000 divided by 1, so 1,000 each, plus Mrs. Bennet. So £5,000 were settled by marriage on Mrs. Bennet and the children. But in what proportions it should be divided amongst the latter depended on the will of the parents Ooh, okay. So it's not 50, 50, 50, 50, 50? No? Wow. So if you like one of your daughters more, they might get more of it. Ooh. Ooh. Oh. Mm-mm. That's going to be a cause of concern. But that's how it is, you know? It was up to the discretion of the parents to divvy out the proportions. Let's see, what was Lydia's proportion? Now, this was 1 point with regard to Lydia at least, which was now to be settled. And Mr. Bennet could have no hesitation in acceding to the proposal before him. So basically, the time has come to settle out Lydia's marriage amount. Now, according to Mr. Gardiner, right, when he was making negotiations with Wickham and all that stuff, one of the things that was negotiated in terms of what Mr. Bennet has to pay is Lydia's equal share, which has to be 1,000 because there's 5 daughters. 5,000 divided by 5 is 1,000 each. But apparently, that's not what it was in the beginning, right? The proportions would be divided amongst whatever the parents wanted. And we don't know what they were thinking of. Lydia would probably get a lot of maybe, I wouldn't say a lot, but maybe more than others of the daughters because she is Mrs. Bennet's favorite. Maybe, but we don't know for sure. But now, Gardiner locked it in and said, no, she gets her equal share. She gets 1,000. And that's what has to be settled on now. And Mr. Bennet has no hesitation. He's got to agree to it because this is a very big decision. So he's agreeing to the proposal that was laid before him, £1,000 for Lydia. Now, in terms of grateful acknowledgement for the kindness of his brother, yeah, I mean, you're going to be indebted to him forever and ever and ever. You best be super grateful for the kindness of Mr. Gardiner. Though expressed most concisely, he then delivered on paper his perfect approbation of all that was done, and his willingness to fulfill the engagements that had been made before him. Yes, okay, so this is actually, he's writing the letter. So as of right now, I believe he's in his library and he's sitting down and he's writing the acceptance back. So he's in real time writing it out to Mr. Gardiner saying, I accept, perfect approbation, so perfect approval, check, check, check. And we're going to do this thing, okay? Even though it sucks, it stinks, it's not good, but, it has to be done. But, yeah, it was expressed most concisely. And remember, Uncle Gardiner was like, you need to explicitly state yes. So he better do that. He better make it explicit. No beating around the bush. Just put it out there. So, okay. All right. So his willingness to fulfill the engagements have been made for him. Lydia's now getting married, guys. Here we go. Now, he had never before supposed that, could Wickham be prevailed on to marry his daughter? It would be done with so little inconvenience to himself as by the present arrangement. Yeah, and I think this kind of goes back to the agreement. There was basically 2 parts in the agreement. 1, Lydia gets her equal share, £1,000, and 2, you just have to pay £100 per year, per annum. So, according to Mr. Bennet, he's like, how could all this be done with so little inconvenience to myself, to me? As this whole present arrangement is. I mean, he doesn't have to do anything, right? He's got to settle the £5,000 equally, but then he's also just got to give £100 to, Lydia and Wickham and the relationship. Hopefully that money doesn't go to, just Wickham, but But he never supposed before, so he never really thought that, this could be done without him basically doing anything. I mean, Mr. Gardiner was the one that was negotiating it all. He found him. Mr. Bennet tried, but he didn't. And even still, could Wickham be prevailed on to marry his daughter? Could even Wickham be persuaded to marry this, his daughter? Apparently all you need is £1,000 and 100 per year and pay off all your debts, right? Let's keep it going. He would scarcely be £10 a year the loser by the hundred that was to be paid them. So, wait a minute. He would scarcely be £10 a year the loser. So it seems like he would only be losing £10 via this arrangement. Lydia is costing him £100 a year. So if he's giving £100 away, right, and the idea is that, once Lydia's married, she's out of the house. And if you only had to pay 10 extra more, it seems like Lydia per year is costing Mr. Bennett £90 to basically for food and, to house her, I guess, right, for everything that she has going on. So it seems like if year after year, it's costing Mr. Bennet £90 to house Lydia as a daughter. And then now he's got to pay £100. He only has to spend basically 10 more. So if we look at that context, it's kind of like, yeah, it's not even £100. It's just 10 more pounds. So once again, I mean, piddlings as to what this guy has to really do. My gosh. For what with her board and pocket allowance, and the continual presents in money which passed to her through her mother's hands. So that's what it was. So it would only cost him 10 more pounds because 90 is housing her, board, pocket allowance, buying the bonnets, and whatever other little presents and money that passes through to Lydia via her mother because she is her favorite. And Lydia's expenses had been very little within that sum. So the idea is like this whole situation is a win. It's a win for Mr. Bennet. It's a win for the whole family, right? But in the grand scheme of things, it's a loss because it's Wickham. My gosh. But to get to the marriage, to make sure everybody's good, and nobody ruins their reputation, I mean, Bennett doesn't really have to do anything. Let's keep it going. That it would be done with such trifling exertion on his side, too, was another very welcome surprise. And I like how, Jane Austen is laying it down and she keeps harping on he's not going to have to pay anything. I guess she's going into how indebted he is to Gardiner, right? But it's something, I don't know, something is just not. I think she's loading something up for us guys because she's laying it all out like it's so good. This is so good, and usually when something is too good, it ain't really what it seems. So I don't know. I'm just kind of tracking it all here. But yeah, I mean, such trifling exertion on his side, he didn't have to do anything. And it's interesting because Gardiner was like, you got to go home. You got to go home, Mr. Bennet. And then all of a sudden, he found Wickham. I don't know. Something, I don't know. The gears are turning on. I think something we don't know, something. And I think Jane Austen's going to drop a bomb on us because I'm getting her tracks. I'm picking them up. But we'll see. Now, that it would be done with such trifling exertion on his side, too, was another very welcome surprise. For his chief wish at present was to have as little trouble in the business as possible. Yeah, I mean, he's thinking for himself. He's like, I wish that I would have the littlest trouble in the business as possible. Because you got a lot of problems, my dude. You got a lot of problems to begin with, so, But also, you're going to marry your daughter, your youngest daughter away to the worst man in all the world. That's a lot of trouble. But that's what it had to be. Now, when the first transports of rage, which had produced his activity in seeking her, were over, he naturally returned to all his former indolence. And once again, it's kind of like, is he going to change, guys? Apparently not. because now he's like, oh, I only need to spend 10 more pounds. Oh, okay. And now he's naturally returned to his former indolence, right? His laziness. He's going just to the library to chill out. He's going back to his sarcastic humor, his wit, and not saving, apparently. And he's not saving. He's got to spend 10 more pounds a year. So, yes. And I think that's what it is. When the first transports of rage, which has produced his activity in seeking her, were over. Yeah. Can we say that it was rage? It looked like to me desperation. And, he had to have been rageful. He probably wanted to see Wickham. And with the whole duel thing going on, that it was either going to be thrown out, out there from Mrs. Bennet. So I don't know. But yeah. But anyway. Now, his letter was soon dispatched. For though dilatory in undertaking business, he was quick in its execution. Yeah. So, he wrote the letter, slow in undertaking business, but in this case, it was quick in the execution, and it was very concise, right, guys? So, hopefully it was explicit, it was concise, and he sends it off, and bada bing, bada bum. Now, he begged to know further particulars of what he was indebted to his brother. Yeah, that's what he wants to know, but was too angry with Lydia to send any message to her. So that kind of goes back to the rage, right? He's desperation to me to try to find Lydia, but rage because of what she put the whole family through. And honestly, does she even know that she did this? No, I doubt it. I don't think that she can see the whole bigger picture as to what she put on the line, and what the family had to do to, save themselves, basically. And she's just out there, yay, I'm getting married, woohoo. She's seriously getting married to the person that she wanted to get married to. So in her case, she's like, I did everything right. But, yeah. Let's keep it going. But I do like that, not that I like, but, he wrote to just Uncle Gardiner, but he's going to make it known to Lydia that he's angry. But you're the one that let her go. I don't know, but let's keep it going. Now, the good news quickly spread through the house. Yes, right? Because now Mrs. Bennet knows, and that means everyone knows. Everybody knows. Yeah. So the good news quickly spread through the house, and with proportionate speed through the neighborhood. Yes, because all you gotta do is just tell Mrs. Phillips. All right, just tell Mrs. Phillips. She'll do the rest of the dirty work for you. Okay, guys? So just go on, tell your sister, and then the whole town of Meryton will be somehow, Georgie Wickham is just the best. He's just the angel. We never said he was bad. We never said he was wretched and wicked. So now we're back in high spirits here, guys, and Lydia's name has been saved. Her reputation has been saved, so it's a win in that respect. Now, it was born in the latter with decent philosophy. So wait, it was born in the latter. The latter is the neighborhood. Oh, it was only taken decently? Decent philosophy? Oh, I thought that they maybe would be, over the moon or something, going back to what they thought about Wickham, but let's see. Now, to be sure, it would have been more for the advantage of conversation. Oh, because it's the gossip train, guys. Okay. So to be sure, it would have been more for the advantage of conversation had Miss Lydia Bennet come upon the town. AKA, if she's Miss Lydia Bennet, she ain't Mrs. Wickham. So if Miss Lydia Bennet came to the town, whew, we would be talking it for 10 years from now, guys. You know what I mean? So they would have a lot to talk about, a lot to converse with in town. Or, as the happiest alternative, being secluded from the world in some distant farmhouse. Yeah. So they're just basically talking about what could possibly happen, you know? So basically if she didn't come to town, she doesn't want to show her face. She wouldn't want to show her face, and she would hide away in some distant farmhouse, and then they can talk all about her. But nobody truly cares about how happy she is. Nobody cares about that apparently, you know? But that's what gossip's all about. The tea, the receipts, and the story, okay? Now, but there was much to be talked of in marrying her. Yeah, I mean, you're marrying Wickham, right? And Meryton knows about Wickham. So there's much to talk of it, and the good natured wishes for her well being, which had proceeded before from all the spiteful old ladies in Meryton, lost but little of their spirit in the change of circumstances, because with such a husband, her misery was considered certain. Are these those people that are wishing you well because they're good natured wishes for her well being? So they're like, I hope you the best. I hope you the best. But then, you know, behind closed doors, it's like, she's probably going to be miserable, you know, but, you know, she deserves it. She deserves it. She deserves to be miserable with miserable Wickham, which interesting because he doesn't come back. He doesn't come back in the good graces of Meryton, which I thought he might have would, but apparently not, because with such a husband, her misery was considered certain. So he doesn't get a second chance, really. But we wish for her well-doing, and you know they'll say it right to her face. Oh, I hope you're doing well. But then behind closed doors, the spiteful old ladies are like, she's probably going to be so miserable with him. Ah, I wonder what they're doing. They're probably so miserable in that house. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's keep it going. Oh my gosh. These are the spiteful old ladies. There they are in their home. They're like, what's Lydia Bennet doing? Oh, I saw her shopping for a bonnet. She probably can't even afford the bonnet. Yeah. I love that there's a cat. Cute. Well, let's keep it going. Now, it was a fortnight, so 2 weeks, since Mrs. Bennet had been downstairs. Okay. But on this happy day, she again took her seat at the head of her table, and in spirits oppressively high. I mean, guys. So 2 weeks this whole thing went down, and she has been upstairs in her apartment in her little chamber with the housekeeper for 2 weeks. But on this happy day that she knows that her daughter's getting married, she came down the stairs again, guys. Oppressively high spirits. I mean, you can't shut her off. My goodness. No sentiment of shame gave a damp to her triumph. Yeah, I mean, it's not a good marriage. But Mrs. Bennet does not care. She does not care. The only thing that she cares about is that her daughter's getting married. 1 out of the 5 are getting married, and that's all she cares about. Mm-mm-mm. But Lydia's just like her, so. The marriage of a daughter, which had been the first object of her wishes since Jane was 16. Girl, you putting your girls out too soon. What are we doing here? Okay? And I do remember that in the beginning of the novel, Jane did have like a romantic interest. It was for a little bit of time. He wrote her some poetry and then she was like, ah! And then they stopped seeing each other. But I think she was like 16 or something. She was young. So what, Mrs. Bennet, what are we doing? But, you know, I could pull it back, you know, and say that she knew that they didn't have any money. The entail is coming upon them. So it does make sense for me to kind of put myself into Miss Bennet's shoes because honestly, she can't do anything besides try to marry off her daughters. So the marriage of a daughter, which had been the first object of her wishes since Jane was 16, was now on the point of accomplishment, and her thoughts and her words ran wholly on those attendants of elegant nuptials, fine muslins, new carriages, and servants. Yeah, she's going to be talking about the wedding until the wedding, and then she's going to be talking about it afterwards. So we're not going to hear anything else from her. And if there is another monologue coming from her, I am ready. I've come to play. But let's see. Yeah, so that's, her thoughts, her words are only on, talking about wedding bells, nuptials, the muslins, the silks, carriages. I love how it's new carriages. Guys, we got no money, right? We got no money. What are we doing? Extra. We haven't saved anything. What are we doing? Well, let's keep it going. She was busily searching through the neighborhood for a proper situation for her daughter. Mrs. Bennet, what are we doing? Are we searching? Are we house hunting? Are we going house hunting? Once again, where's the money coming from? And the situation stinks because, Wickham's not part of the landed gentry. He has no estate to himself. He's just a lieutenant in the militia, right? So he has an income, whatever his income is, they'll try to get some type of proper situation. But as far as I see that going, Lydia ain't going to be coming in with anything to help that out. So, but once again, we in dream world, and Mrs. Bennet, she ain't be coming down anytime soon. But that's what she's doing. She's busily searching the neighborhood. Okay, she's going through the Regency reviews and she's seeing what houses are for sale, and without knowing or considering what their income might be, rejected many as deficient in size and importance. Okay. We're looking for my daughter. I have no idea what their income is, what they're coming in with. So, yeah. And I love how, rejected many as too small in size. Okay. And Mrs. Bennet says, "Hey, Park might do," said she, "if the Goodlings might quit it, or the great house at Stoke." Girl. Okay. What are we doing? What are we doing? We're trying to get a family out of a house, right? The Gouldings would quit it, or the great house in Stoke. If the drawing room were larger. We don't even know the income, guys. We don't even know. But Ashworth is too far off. I would not bear to have it 10 miles from me. And as for Purist Lodge, the attics are dreadful. She's delusional, guys, with a capital D. I mean, we got Hay Park, Gouldings, Stoke. Definitely not Ashworth because 10 miles is way too far away. And definitely not Purvis Lodge because the attics, they're just dreadful. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we're just gonna keep going on. And yes, her husband allowed her to talk on without interruption while the servants remained. And the servants are just getting all the deets, guys. They're getting all the deets. But when they had withdrawn, he said to her, so Mr. Bennett's gonna come in. What is he gonna say? Just stop running your mouth, This is a crazy situation that your daughter put us through. Well, let's see. So he says, "Mrs. Bennet, before you take any or all of these houses," okay, because he's back, guys. He's back to being sarcastic. "So before you take any or all of these houses for your son and daughter, let us come to a right understanding." Is he going to lay the smackdown? Is he going to lay the smackdown on his wife? Let's see. "Into one in this neighborhood they shall never have admittance." Ooh, I mean, I wonder which one, right? There's one house or one estate in this neighborhood that they shall never have admittance. "And I will not encourage the imprudence of either by receiving them at Longbourn." Oh, yo. Yeah, he's done. He's done with his daughter. No matter if Lydia is Mrs. Bennet's favorite, he is done with Lydia because he's got the debt to now put on his shoulders for the rest of his life with basically his brother, Uncle Gardiner. So she ain't coming back here. He's laying down the smack down tonight, guys. Woo! I feel it all the way from over here. That was a diss. Yeah. So she ain't coming back. I don't want to see her ever again. I don't want to hear from her. Oof. Yeah, a long dispute followed this declaration because Mrs. Bennet is just happy that she's getting married, right? So according to her, everything is fine. Everything's fine and dandy. But Mr. Bennet, I think he sees more of everything that's been happening here. So a long dispute followed this declaration, but Mr. Bennet was firm. Okay. And it soon led to another dispute. And Mrs. Bennet found, with amazement and horror, that her husband would not advance a guinea to buy clothes for his daughter. Now, I know that the amounts of money is different from what they use today. So now I'm seeing a guinea, which I believe is a very minute amount of money. I think it's maybe even less than a penny. But I know that there was pounds and shillings, I think, and then guineas maybe. So, but you let me know. Thank you so much. But basically, her husband is not going to even give a small piece of money to buy clothes for his daughter. Meanwhile, she's the whole time saying, Lydia could have all the money in the world to buy the clothes. We're going to buy the clothes. She was the one that was going to talk to Mr. Bennett when her whole monologue went down, right? But he's like, I am buying beep from her, right? He protested that she should receive from him no mark of affection, whatever, on the occasion. Yeah, I mean, he is in rage. So, yeah. He is not having it. And, rightfully so. She put the whole family's reputation on the line. And once again, she probably has no idea that she did it. But let's keep it going. Now, Mrs. Bennet could hardly comprehend it. Yeah, because she's got mean understanding, guys, right? So just like she doesn't understand the entail, she won't understand basically anybody that tries to push back at her. That his anger could be carried to such a point of inconceivable resentment as to refuse his daughter a privilege. She girl, lady, Mrs. Bennet, whoever you are, if the marriage didn't happen, all your privileges were going to get cut, okay? Because all of your lives are going to be in ruin, basically. So, Mr. Bennet and Mr. Gardiner had to do what they had to do, especially Mr. Gardiner, to get this marriage here. But she sees it just as a marriage, and she's like, why are you being so resentful? Inconceivable resentment as to refuse your daughter a privilege to get nice clothes, nice shoes, nice muslins and silks and whatever other textiles that, the wedding back then had. But, okay. So, yes, without which her marriage would scarcely seem valid, exceeded all that she could believe possible. Yeah, I mean, according to Mrs. Bennet, without any of those nice privileges and the gowns and all that, the marriage would scarcely seem valid, as if we care to have everybody out there know it. Even though, words got to get around, but now we also add this to the gossip, right? Because now we know that there's going to be a marriage. How valid do we need to make it seem? Can't we just, sign the paper and be done with it and have the whole family saved? Or do we really have to go out on the town, dress up to the nines, and show everybody that it was a real valid wedding, right? But that's what she is saying, that his anger could be carried to such a point. And, all of this exceeded all that she could possibly believe. I mean, she's probably just, she doesn't understand. She has no idea why her husband's acting this way. I don't know. Ask your daughter. But she don't know either. But let's keep it going. She was more alive to the disgrace, which her want of new clothes must reflect on her daughter's nuptials, than to any sense of shame at her eloping and living with Wickham a fortnight before they took place. I mean, Mrs. Bennet, you gotta be delusional. You gotta be delusional at this point that you care much more about dressing up your daughter than the shame at eloping and living with Wickham for 2 weeks, a fortnight. Girl, you gotta get those priorities straightened out. So, in Mrs. Bennet's world, she just wants Lydia to look the best, because then, if she doesn't look the best at her wedding, they're going to make fun of her. And that is much higher up on the Regency scale for Mrs. Bennet than having the shame of doing the whole shebang and being, basically, she's been out of Brighton for 2 weeks now, guys, eloping, just living together with Wickham. Ugh, gosh. But that apparently doesn't top the cake. It's the whole thing about she must have new clothes because they're going to talk. The Meryton, Hertfordshire, they're going to talk about what she was wearing that day. Girl, I don't know. You gotta do some inner work here, okay? Now, Elizabeth was not most heartily sorry that she had, from the distress of the moment, been led to make Mr. Darcy acquainted with their fears for her sister. So, sorry, before I went goo gaga and seeing the Darcy word on the screen, hold up now. So what's going on with Elizabeth? So Elizabeth was now heartily sorry that she had led to make Mr. Darcy acquainted with their fears for her sister. Because remember, that whole time back at Pemberley, right, in the inn, I believe yes, they were at the inn. They weren't at Pemberley. Remember, and he was looking through like the peephole, right, waiting for her. But he didn't ask what was going on. She told right out, just to say what was actually going on, because in that true moment, she realized that she did love him. And now, oh no, because she's sorry that she did that now he knows this information. And of course, it's from the distress of the moment. You're not really thinking properly. And she needed somebody, like a shoulder to cry on, only for a hot second. And I think he did a really, really, really good job. But she doesn't think that. I think that she thinks that he now knows the information and doesn't want anything to do with her. And maybe if she didn't tell him, and now Lydia's getting married, it's kind of like she could have immediately went back and maybe tried to make the love work. But now Darcy knows what's going on with Lydia, but, she's now married, so I don't know if that's going to heal anything there. For since her marriage would so shortly give the proper termination to the elopement, they might hope to conceal its unfavorable beginning from all those who were not immediately on the spot. I mean, I think it's wishful thinking, but people in Kent know what happened, okay? So everybody knows what happened. So no matter whether you told them or not, everybody in all of Great Britain knows about what went down with Wickham and Lydia. Let's just put it out that way. So, and I think that's what Elizabeth's trying to get at, that they might hope to conceal the beginning from all those who were not immediately on the spot. So instead of basically telling Darcy everything, she could have maybe pulled back, not told him anything right then and there, and then came back and said, oh, they ran away for a little bit, but then they got married. And that's way better than the whole debacle that we're in right now. And she's probably thinking that Darcy knows too much, because she's still thinking about him, guys. Oh, where are we going to go from here? I don't know. We got like, how many chapters left? Like 10 chapters. That's nothing. We're coming down to the end, guys. But yeah, but let's keep it going. She had no fear of it spreading farther through his means, meaning she knows that he's going to keep the secret. Just like he gave her information about Georgiana and everything about Wickham, she knows, or she has no fear that through him, it wouldn't be spreading any farther. And that's trust, guys. She's come a long way. Now, there were few people on whose secrecy she would have more confidently depended. Jane, I would think, there's a few people on whose secrecy she would have more confidently depended. So I would say Jane and maybe Charlotte, but that's all that I'm thinking, But at the same time, there was no one whose knowledge of a sister's frailty would have mortified her so much. Yeah, because of he gave secrets about his sister, so she felt that she could be honest back. So, well, yeah, but at the same time, there was no one whose knowledge would have mortified her so much. And also, I think this comes back to the family objections, right? But the whole family objections, but Darcy did mention that I looked past that. I can look past that whenever the proposal came down to it. But now she's thinking back, and there's no one else whose knowledge of Lydia's situation could have mortified her so much. Ooh. Because she loves Darcy, guys. Okay. Not, however, from any fear of disadvantage from it individually to herself, for at any rate there seemed a gulf impassable between them. Girl, oh. So like a gulf, so like, I guess like a strait or like a body of water, aka you can't cross something, it's impassable. And she thinks that this riff would not be able to bring them together. But, from, this is so hard because from our perspective, I think he was just giving her space, and I don't think that he would change, honestly. The thing here is that she needs to get past this. Just like she got past and she was doing deep inner thoughts about how to get to the realization that she loves him. Now she needs to do all the hard work all over again to get to, that he could possibly still love her. You got to go fight for it. You got to fight for it, right? What's the worst? I guess to say no. I don't know, right? But yeah, she has no fear of disadvantage from it individually to herself, but they just, won't be able to pursue a relationship. Oh, we got to get him back, guys. How do we get him back, right? He's at Pemberley. We're probably not going to Pemberley anymore, so that's out. We're not going to the mountains anymore. We're staying in Longbourn. He's got to come to us, guys. I mean, sometimes he's been in Meryton, right, with Bingley. Maybe he'll come back. I don't know, but let's keep it going. Now, had Lydia's marriage been concluded on the most honorable terms, it was not to be supposed that Mr. Darcy would connect himself with the family, where to every other objection would now be added an alliance and relationship of the nearest kind with the man whom he so justly scorned. And she's even thinking that even if this went down in a good way, in the most honorable terms, Lydia and Wickham coming together, because it's Wickham, and now now he's fam, guys. That's her brother. Oh my gosh, that's Elizabeth's brother. Oh my gosh. That you can't suppose that Darcy would now want to connect himself with this family, because then they would be brothers. Oh gosh. Oh no. That's hard. That's a hard one. That's a hard one to sell. So yeah, and that's what it's saying here, that you can't suppose that Darcy would connect himself with the family, where to every other objection would now be added the alliance and relationship of, in this case, the nearest kind, aka your brother. He's going to be your brother. If now Elizabeth and Darcy go on, get engaged, get married, that's going to be his brother. Wickham is going to be his brother. And yeah, of course he scorns him. So that's a hard sell. That's a hard sell, guys. Now, from such a connection, she could not wonder that he should shrink. Yeah, and I mean, she's thinking again that because now she's brothers with Wickham, that's a very intimate relation, right? From that connection, she could not wonder that he would back down because of it. And the wish of procuring her regard, which she had assured herself of his feeling in Derbyshire. That's what stinks, guys. So the wish of persuading her regard on him, which she had assured herself of his feeling in Derbyshire, could not in rational expectation survive such a blow as this. There's so many layers to this. The rom-com of today would be like, yeah, they just gonna get together and everything's all good. But like the Regency era, Jane Austen is telling me is much more complex than they're just gonna fly off into the sunset. So I don't know. I mean, but she's thinking here, that this is a big blow, and he's going to now come away. He's going to shrink from it. And you can't rationally expect him to survive this or want to at least try to keep going for Elizabeth with the blow like this. And she was humbled. And she was grieved. She repented, though. She hardly knew of what. Yeah, because she didn't do anything wrong. Honestly, what are you going to repent for? You didn't do anything wrong. It's the whole family reputation was on the line via your sister. But what is she going to repent for? The only thing that she did was tell Darcy of it. But honestly, if anything, I mean, that even showed him that she came to him. So in my mind, I'm kind of like, that was a yay, because it showed Darcy that she was willing to give information about her private life to him without him even asking. And he was just being there. But she doesn't see it like that. She's humbled. She's, I guess humbled, to have humility, to have something and then all of a sudden it just gets removed just like that, in a blink of an eye. And because of that, she was grieving because, and yeah, I mean, guys, where do we go from here? How do we get him to Longbourn? Or how do we go to Pemberley? I don't know. But yeah, let's keep it going. She became jealous of his esteem when she could no longer hope to be benefited by it. Now, jealous of his esteem, so like his respect, she became jealous of it when she could no longer hope to be benefited by it. So once again, we're in the dirt, right? Because how could he still love her? So she can't hope for that anymore, but she's jealous. Maybe because she wants him to still respect her, right? I mean, because she probably still loves him, but she's grieving for the loss of him. But we have no idea where he's at. Jane Austen, just put him on the screen. Just put him right here in the next paragraph, okay? Please. Thanks. But she wanted to hear of him. Yes. When there seemed the least chance of gaining intelligence. Our thoughts exactly, guys. Our thoughts exactly. She was convinced that she could have been happy with him. But it was no longer likely they should meet. Guys. Yes. I mean, how are we going to get them together? There's no reason. According to her, why would he come to Longbourn? She's not going to go to Pemberley. Unless the Gardiners come at it again. Come to London. That would probably be, if I'm thinking about it now, that would probably be the only way. She goes to the Gardiners again, and he has a house in London. And then, somehow, through everything that's good in this world, they meet up in London. I don't know. But I don't see any other way of going about this. But let's see. So, yes, what a triumph for him. As she often thought. Why would it be a triumph? But let's see. Could he know that the proposals which she had proudly spurned only 4 months ago would now have been gladly and gratefully received? Okay. So, yeah. So now she's saying that she would accept. Guys, I mean, we got to get them back. We got to get them back. How are we going to get them back? But yeah, she often thought. So this ain't no one-off, guys. I mean, she's been thinking that the proposals that he did, aka the one proposal, right? 4 months ago, she would have today gladly, and remember, guys, she's very grateful, but she will gratefully have said yes, for sure. For sure. And what a triumph for him. He was as generous, she doubted not, as the most generous of his sex. Oh. Because, see, now this is interesting because now, back then, it was the whole objections, right? It was the whole objections, and she took it so bad because she was like, how dare you? How dare you talk bad of my family? Then she did a lot of inner work, saw that he was right. But now, she's like, he's the most generous of his sex. So she's thinking now, she's probably like, my family's messed up, but like he was able to see past that. That's how I'm kind of seeing it as. But, now she's gone full. Where are we at, guys, anyway? Are we in the 60s? For right now, I mean, we're at 179 out of the full 180 turn. The 1 point is just getting them together. I mean, but she's there. I mean, she would accept right on the spot right now. Hey, you want to marry me? Yeah, that's it. So, he was generous. She doubted not, as the most generous of his sex. But while he was mortal, there must be a triumph. I mean, Jane Austen. But while he's immortal, aka a human being, right? This has to probably have some religious context here, because he is a god from above. He is an angel from heaven, probably. But even though he's just a human, there's still a lot to triumph over him about. Oh my gosh, this is like, he's not even here, guys. He's not even here. Well, let's keep it going. Now, she began now to comprehend, so to understand, that he was exactly the man who, in disposition of talents, would most suit her. We knew that she loved him from the inn talk. But now she's not even questioning herself. She's understanding it. She is comprehending it, guys. So this is now all the checks for Darcy. But let's see. Let's try to take it as objective, right? Can we agree? Let's see. So she began now to comprehend that he was exactly the man who, in disposition, I would agree, right? Because he ain't yelling or anything like that. He's very, he's a straight shooter. Very cordial, the best of breeding. So, yeah. And talents. Now, I'm trying to think, like, what talents does Darcy have other than he's got a ton of money? We know that he loves long letters, right? We know that he loves long letters, and he writes a lot to his sister. What other talents? He Oh, I guess for the males in the Regency era, he was going, oh, he fishes, right? So he does all that stuff, which Jane Austen, it could just be because Jane Austen doesn't dive into more male accomplishments as for all the female stuff in her novels. But we can say, okay, yes, he does have talents. I mean, he had the best education, you know, great disposition, great breeding. So I'm assuming, okay, he has probably very, very good talents. His understanding and temper, that I would check at. I would check both of those off. Though, unlike her own, would have answered all her wishes. Yeah. I mean, very even-tempered dude. And for what we know, I mean, very understanding, especially with the whole Wickham situation and Georgiana and now the family situation. Do you want some wine, guys? So, yeah, that would have all answered all of her wishes. It was a union that must have been to the advantage of both. And that's why she wants to marry. It's not for financial security as the main reason. Because obviously those, there are little reasons here and there, but the main reason for her is she has to be grateful to the person. She has to be in love. She has to, you know, just be in awe of that person. And that's what it's saying here. It was a union that must have been to the advantage of both. So on both paths, she's in it for love, and it seems like he's in it for love as well. And that's a perfect union for both of them. By her ease and liveliness, his mind might have been softened. Oh, guys, just okay. Yeah. So it's also the thing of what saying, you know, you make me better, right? That, you know, you marry somebody that tries to push you and to just, you try to do the best that you can possibly do, and they make you better as a human being. And that's what I'm seeing here, you know, by what she's got coming to the table, by her ease and liveliness, which, yes, we all know, his mind might have been softened. His manners improved. And from his judgment, information, and knowledge of the world, she must have received benefit of greater importance. Yeah, so it seems it's give and take, guys, give and take. They both seem like they're in it for love, and they both have their own specific qualities that would help the other out. I mean, yeah, this is my type of marriage. Guys, this is my type of marriage. Okay. So, yeah, cute. You know, and of course, yeah, his judgment, and this might be also his talents, right? Judgment, his information, his knowledge of the world from his education. And we know that she didn't have a governess or anything like that, so that would give her much better benefit as well. Oh, okay, let's keep it going. But not such happy marriage could now teach the admiring multitude what connubial felicity really was. So, yeah, I mean, that would be the felicity of the felicity of the felicity of marriages, right? The connubial felicity, the happiness of marriage, right? Marriage happiness. It would be Elizabeth and Darcy, right? Because they both, you know, give and take from each other. They both love each other. They work well now together. They understand each other from, you know, from the last paragraph. We still got to work on that a little bit, right? We got to get them together. But no such a happy marriage is a happening because we're talking about Lydia and Wickham's marriage, right? So, and I think that's what this is objectively the narrator is saying to us. Like, no such happy marriage will be taught here, basically, in this story. And yeah, I mean, and union of a different tendency and precluding the possibility of the other was soon to be formed in their family. Yes, we're not talking about no happy marriage that was just discussed. We're talking about a union of a different tendency, aka Lydia and Wickham. Yes, very different circumstances here. And yes, this was going to be soon to be formed into their family. Okay. Now, how Wickham and Lydia were to be supported in tolerable independence, she could not imagine. So now we're back to Elizabeth. That, you know, how they were going to be supported. He has no house. Lydia doesn't either. Do we even have a respectable income for both of them? We have no idea. How are they going to be supported in tolerable independence? Not even like the best of the best independence. We just want to get them by, guys. But she couldn't imagine it. But how little of permanent happiness could belong to a couple who were only brought together because their passions were stronger than their virtue? She could easily conjecture. So she's thinking, Elizabeth is like, the only reason why they're getting together is because they were super passionate of each other. They just wanted to be together, okay? And, you know, Wickham knew what he was doing. And Lydia was 15, 16 at the time. So, gosh, once again, But their passions were stronger than their virtue that, you know, now you have a wedding on your hands that you shouldn't really be having. But we have no other way, guys. No other way to do it. And because of that, there's going to be little permanent happiness. It's not the marriage that could have happened. It's the Lydia Wickham marriage. And this is actually wedding number 2, guys. This is because Collins and Charlotte got married first. And that wedding went, spectacularly. But I don't ever want to say that guy's name ever again, okay? So, but now we have another wedding, and this is working out great as well. I mean, come on, Jane Austen, please give us a solid. But yeah, no happiness is gonna come out of this one because they were only brought together because they just weren't thinking right. They were thinking of the now and not the later, you know? But let's keep it going. Now, Mr. Gardiner soon wrote again to his brother. To Mr. Bennet's acknowledgments, he briefly replied with assurances of his eagerness to promote the welfare of any of his family. Okay, so Mr. Gardiner came writing again back to his brother because Mr. Gardiner will write to you, not like Mr. Bennet, you know. So to Mr. Bennet's acknowledgments, he briefly replied, right, because he was like, Mr. Bennett wanted to know how much did you pay this guy off? But he just came back with assurances of his eagerness to promote the welfare of his family. Like, I'm going to do what I have to do. Being very vague, it seemed. Didn't give him a money amount, didn't give him anything like that. Just said, I'm eager to do whatever I got to do to help the fam out, okay? I got you. And concluded with entreaties that the subject might never be mentioned to him again. And basically he's concluding like, don't come at me, okay? I'm begging you. Don't mention this ever again, okay? That's just how we're going to do it. I did what I had to do. Lydia's all good. We ain't going to be talking about it anymore, okay? Capiche? Capiche. The principal purport of his letter was to inform them that Mr. Wickham had resolved on quitting the militia. What? Now we got no income? We Okay. But in there, in the criteria, there was no mention that said like, oh, Mr. Wickham was going to keep working. Apparently not, because now this guy's jobless. So he's jobless, getting married. We got no house for him, no money coming in. The debts are paid, though. The debts are paid. Lydia's got money. So, okay. Okay. This is just great, guys. This is great. A great beginning to a great marriage. So this is Mr. Gardiner, I believe, in his letter. So it says, well, it was greatly my wish that he should do so. Ah, okay. Maybe there's a silver lining here. So it was Mr. Gardiner's wish to do so, that Wickham ends the military. And as soon as his marriage was fixed on, so he would have quit the military as soon as the marriage went on. And I think you will agree with me in considering a removal from that corps as highly advisable, both on his account and my niece's. Okay, so, Bennett, will you agree with me in considering to remove him from the corps as being advisable? Maybe because he's married, if he was in the militia, he would be having to pop all over the place, right? And he's got a habit of popping all over the place and doing whatever he wants to do. So maybe that's the reason why, to kind of hold him down to one single place. It is Mr. Wickham's intention to go into the regulars, and among his former friends there are still some who are able and willing to assist him in the army. He has the promise of an insigniancy in General whoever regiment, and now quartered in the north. Ah, okay. So wait. So he's just out of the militia, but now he's part of the regulars. So at least he's got a job. At least he's got a job. Okay. The regulars, I'm assuming, is probably another part of like the military or some idea. Now it's not the actual militia because we removed him, but it's talking about there's a general involved, and I'm assuming here now this is the army. Okay. So, but, if it's anything else, and you guys know, let me know. And thank you so, so much. But yes, it is Mr. Wickham's intention. Oh, is it? He's intending to go into this? Guys, we gotta lock this guy down because once he's gone, he might not even be coming back. I don't know. But that's his intention. Okay. So he's gonna go into the regulars, and from his friends, among his former friends, interesting, former, do they want anything to do with him? Do they know about the gossip? There are still some who are able and willing to assist him in the army. So it seems like gossip even went all the way out to the regulars, guys. So he's going to sign up with some other regiment now quartered in the north. Okay, the north of England, I'm assuming. Okay. Okay, I mean, that's his intention. Okay. Now let's keep it going. Now this seems like it's still part of the letter, but let's, so this is Mr. Gardiner. It is an advantage to have it so far from this part of the kingdom. Oh, okay. So up north, it's actually an advantage. He promises fairly, and I hope among different people, where they may each have a character to preserve, they will both be more prudent. Ah, okay. It's making sense now. So they have to go like way far north in hopes that nobody knows about what just went down with them. They're going to come into a new town and basically just be like, hey, we're a normal married couple. Hey, what's going on? And I think that's what is going on here. And I love how, he promises fairly. Well, he promised a lot of things. But, it's Wickham. And I hope among different people where they may each have a character to preserve. Yeah, okay. That they'll both be more prudent. They'll be more wise. It's Lydia, though. And Wickham. I mean, they need supervision, especially Lydia. But going up north, it seems like both of them are going to go up north then. But we'll see. But let's keep it going. Now, Gardiner says, I have written to Colonel Forrester to inform him of our present arrangements and to request that he will satisfy the various creditors of Mr. Wickham in and near Brighton with assurances of speedy payment, for which I have pledged myself. And there we go again, more debt. So he's writing to Colonel Forrester to inform him of everything that's going on. He's going to drop out of the militia, go to the regulars, and to request that he will satisfy the creditors near Brighton. So we're not even talking about Meryton. We're now trying to pay off the creditors in Brighton with assurances of speedy payment. How much money does this guy have, guys? What is going on? I don't know. But for which I have pledged myself. I mean, we got to take his word for it. So he's laying out all the money. But let's keep it going. And will you give yourself the trouble of carrying similar assurances to his creditors in Meryton, of whom I shall subjoin a list, according to his information? Ooh. So, yeah, can you, this is the only thing that you got to do, because honestly, you don't have to do anything, Bennett, right? But give yourself the trouble. This guy's in your debt, right? So he gonna do whatever you say to do. Carry similar assurances to his creditors in Meryton, because remember, all his debts are getting paid. So he's gonna give a list according to his information, Wickham's information. I hope he gives everyone's name, because we need to get rid of all that debt. But here we go. Now, he says, he has given in all his debts. I hope at least he has not deceived us. Yeah, I mean, you gotta believe him at some point, right? Haggerston has our directions, and all will be completed in a week. They will then join his regiment, unless they are first invited to Longbourn. Yeah, that ain't happening here. And I understand from Mrs. Gardiner that my niece is very desirous of seeing you all before she leaves the South. That probably ain't happening either. She is well and begs to be dutifully remembered to you and her mother, yours, etc. Edward Gardiner. Yeah, so, he's given all of his debts. Seems like everything is going to be settled out, hopefully. And he's going to go up north with Lydia. And, he'll join the regiment, okay, unless they're first invited to Longbourn. That ain't happening. And I understand from Mrs. Gardiner, so interesting, probably Mrs. Bennet might have been writing to Mrs. Gardiner that my niece is very desirous of seeing you all. Oh, okay, I get it. This is just talking to his wife. I heard from Mrs. Gardiner that Lydia, my niece, is very desirous of seeing you all before she leaves to go head to north. She's well and begs to be dutifully remembered. She has no clue. She has no clue. Nothing she wants to say as far as like, I'm sorry or anything like that. She just wants to see you all. I don't know. Are we going to have her get together at Longbourn? Mrs. Bennett's going to try to fight for it, but Mr. Bennett probably has the final say. And he already said, you ain't coming to Longbourn. So, but she's well. And remember her. Yikes. Okay, but let's keep it going. Now, Mr. Bennet and his daughters saw all the advantages of Wickham's removal from the Shire, right? Okay, so yeah, get him out of here, bring him up north. They could at least try to start over, as clearly as Mr. Gardiner could do. But Mrs. Bennet was not so well pleased with it. She just doesn't understand what's really going down, what's being thrown down here to make this all work. Lydia's being settled in the north, just when she had expected most pleasure and pride in her company. Because she was looking for houses, guys. She's like, and remember, one of them was like, what, Ashford? We couldn't do that because it was 10 miles away. Meow. Meanwhile, she's going up north, right? So goodbye to Lydia. And Mrs. Bennet is just not pleased with it because she expected the most pleasure because one of her daughters is now married, so she could toot that along all over the place. And I love how pride. This is going to just increase her pride. I mean, she's out to lunch, guys. Yeah, but, for she had by no means given up her plan of their residing in Hertfordshire. With what money? If he left the militia, right? And it was a severe disappointment. Yeah, totally a disappointment. And besides, it was such a pity that Lydia should be taken from a regiment where she was acquainted with everybody and had so many favorites. Jane Austen did it again. That this is definitely Mrs. Bennet's thoughts. What is that? Free indirect discourse, I believe, from what I learned from you guys in the comments. That, yeah, it was such a pity that Lydia should be taken from a regiment where she was acquainted with everybody. She had so many friends. Now she has to start in a new state. That's kind of like you're moving to a new state. You know nobody. It's going to be so hard for her. But that's basically what it's like, where she was acquainted with everyone, had so many favorites. Okay. We know Lydia. I mean, she is the life of the party. I'm sure she's going to make new favorites up north, okay? Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I can clearly see that if I pinned it right, I think that it is. I think that is the free independent discourse. But let's keep it going. So now Mrs. Bennet comes in and says, well, she's so fond of Mrs. Forster. That's probably the person that got her into this whole situation. That is the person that got her into this whole situation. Part one, but part two, there's other people to blame, right? Lydia herself, Mrs. Forster, Mr. Bennet. Basically, everybody failed this girl. But anyway, she's so fond of Mrs. Forster, said she. It will be quite shocking to send her away. And there are several of the young men, too, that she likes very much. The officers may not be so pleasant in general regiment. She'll do just fine, okay? She'll do just fine. And this is the part where now I'm kind of like, let her go. And it's interesting because now I'm kind of like, let her go. Meanwhile, Mrs. Bennett's like, no, let her stay. When, when the coin was flipped, I was like, do not let her go. And everybody's like, yeah, let her go. So interesting, just clocking it in. But of course, yeah, she's so fond of Mrs. Forrester. That's her friend. And this is shocking. There's several of the young men that she likes very much. But remember, she's married now. But, whatever. And the officers up north might not be as pleasant. Your daughter's married now. Whatever that comes within the Regency era at 16 years old. And she's got to act now as a grown-up woman. That she made a decision and now she just got to live with it. Now, his daughter's request, for such it might be considered, of being admitted into her family again before she set off for the north, received at first an absolute negative. Ooh, okay, so I like the received at first an absolute negative. So that was obviously coming from Mr. Bennet, right? And his daughter's request, for such it might be considered, it was a no at first. But maybe he turned around. He's like, maybe she could come to Longbourn. But let's see. But yeah, is she going to come to Longbourn? Let's see. But Jane and Elizabeth, who agreed in wishing, for the sake of their sister's feelings and consequence, that she should be noticed on her marriage by her parents, urged him so earnestly, yet so rationally and so mildly, to receive her and her husband at Longbourn. Okay, so it was Jane and Elizabeth that pulled through. And you could kind of see who did what, right? Yet so rationally, that was Elizabeth's doing. Yet so mildly, that was Jane's doing, to come in and urge them, both earnestly, but they did it both in their own little ways, to have Lydia come back. And, I kind of get it, for the sake of Lydia's feelings, that she obviously should be noticed by her parents on her wedding. I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, she's still your daughter, Oh. So they want her back. From the wording, it seems like, yes, Lydia's going to be coming back, but let's see. And, to receive her and Wickham, her husband, at Longbourn as soon as they were married, that he was prevailed on to think as they thought and acted as they wished. Yeah, so basically they persuaded him, right? He was prevailed on to think as they thought, that, she is your daughter, she's our sister, she's getting married, so, you got to see her, right? And send her off. Well wishes up to the north. Cute. But let's keep it going. Now, and their mother had the satisfaction of knowing that she should be able to show her married daughter in the neighborhood only for a little while, guys, before she goes up to the north. But at least she has the satisfaction that she can parade with her daughter around the neighborhood before she was banished to the north. Yeah, once more, that's totally Mrs. Bennet's thinking. Now, when Mr. Bennet wrote again to his brother, therefore, he sent his permission for them to come. And permission for them to come. So it seems like the Gardiners are going to come too, right? Maybe the kids, maybe the 4 kids, and definitely Lydia. Oh, but wait a minute. No, JK. Them is Lydia and Wickham. Okay. I almost was like, oh, the Gardiners are coming back, but that would be just way too many people. Permission for them, Lydia and Wickham, to come. And it was settled that as soon as the ceremony was over, they should proceed to Longbourn. Okay, so they're going to get married up around Cheapside, Gracechurch Street area, London town, and then as soon as the ceremony's over, they'll come to Longbourn. Okay, and Elizabeth was surprised, however, that Wickham should consent to such a scheme. I mean, he's got a pretty good deal. All of his debts are going to be paid, and honestly, this is probably the only way in which all of his debts are going to be paid, honestly. So, I mean, he had to agree. That's just me. But, Elizabeth is surprised. And had she consulted only her own inclination, any meeting with him would have been the last object of her wishes. Yeah, so basically if she was acting on her own inclinations as to what Elizabeth wants, any meeting with him would be the last of her wishes, the last thing on her mind. And I agree, because now she knows a lot. And Wickham knows that she knows a lot. I think he does. I think he does know that. So, yeah, I mean, she's shocked. She's surprised. I can kind of see it because honestly, yeah, just like I said, that would be the only way to get really his debts paid off. But she doesn't want to see him. You know, I don't want to see him, honestly, but we're going to see him because they're coming to Longbourn. All right, guys, so I feel like this chapter was truly about consequences. Mr. Bennet is, I think, finally understanding that knowing better and doing better are two totally different things. He knew that he should have saved from the get. He knew that Lydia needed discipline. But now, apparently, Uncle Gardiner is cleaning up all this financial mess, while Mrs. Bennet is just declining houses because apparently the attics are dreadful, guys.
Can anyone tell this woman that her future son-in-law has, like, a lot of debt in a lot of cities?
But guys, Elizabeth, we have arrived. 4 months ago, Darcy was the last man in the world that she wanted to be with. Now, she wants Darcy's esteem. She wants to hear from him, and she knows that she could be happy with him. And guys, if he proposed again, she would say yes. The only thing is that she thinks that this whole Lydia Wickham thing has basically made Darcy completely go dark and just recoil back into his Pemberley mansion. Our girl finally wants Darcy, but she thinks that it's just too late. Where do we go from here, guys? But honestly, I am in so much pain. Jane Austen, please do us a solid. Thanks. All right, so current standings. Mr. Bennet is finally maybe taking some responsibility. Mrs. Bennet is on a Regency Zillow without apparently any type of budget. Lydia is somehow being rewarded with a wedding. Wickham, my dude, you got creditors all over the place. Mr. Gardiner is still carrying this entire operation out by himself. Our girl Elizabeth would say yes, guys. And our dude Darcy, where you at? Come on. All right, so you guys know the drill. Let's get some water in. Let's hydrate up, whatever your drink of choice is. And I will see you for chapter 51. Let's do this, guys. Kiki?